All right, hello again. We had a little bit of technical difficulties there for a second, but we'll try this again. So to recap the 59 seconds, this is the MotoGarage development team. I'm Matt Milford. This is Katie Milford to my left, and
Hello.
that's Lauren in the back, and Mark with the headphones. So
Hey.
what we intend to do here is to have a monthly meeting to kind of recap what we've done the last month, give you guys a chance to kind of bring your ideas to the table, and also kind of give you some insight and some new things we haven't released yet. So with that being said, I'm going to start off just introducing myself and the team here. So I'm Matt Milford. I'm one of the primary financial backers. I've got a big role in the framework of MotoGarage and developed it from the beginning, and everyone's kind of really come together and got it to where we are now. And this is Katie to my left.
Yes, and I'm primarily responsible for accounting, legal, insurance, pretty much all the behind-the-scenes business type aspects.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then there's Mark Milford back there.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm the guy doing the website stuff, anything IT related. If it blinks or it can be plugged in, I'm probably the one touching it, and that's me.
Yep, and then Mark's also got some. He's doing a lot of the in the arcade, some other fun stuff in the future. And then lastly, but not least, Lauren Hale.
So I do the marketing aspect of MotoGarage, and I basically handle the social media platforms, and I will be planning the events and anything to do with the social aspects or branding, such as the merchandise or anything like that. That's my forte.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Lauren's a big part in what you see externally. So our Facebook page, our everything you can see and hear. She's got a hand in it. But to give you kind of a better idea of what we're doing here, we're developing a community motorcycle garage. It's going to be different than a traditional shop. This shop is going to be the one where you can really have a hands-on DIY approach. The goal is to be able to bring in your own motorcycle and work on your own motorcycle. That's the idea behind it. And of course, the complexity gets a little higher than that. We want to make it also a social scene. So it's something entirely different than done before. But one of the most unique aspects that we're finally touching, and I think it's going to be really neat, is the way we're going to empower you in this shop. We don't want to put a price tag on something on the shelf and you come in, buy it, and walk away. We want you to have a part in what we're providing, the direction MotoGarage is going, and have your voice really heard in a way that's never been done before. So we've been developing this. We went live last fall. We've been developing maybe 6 to 8 months prior to that, and now we're getting close to a very exciting period in development in which we're acquiring a facility. So that's been the last 2 to 3 months, is really diving into the meat of getting a facility. So that's what this meeting is going to be about, and it's going to be a very different meeting in that we're not going to be sitting here reading bullet points or telling you exactly what happened verbatim of the last couple updates. We want to kind of, and you may have to be patient with us, we're going to have kind of a live discussion on what we feel are the pros and cons of the properties we looked at, what we thought going into it they would entail, their advantages and disadvantages, and then when we experience them, what we've kind of come to conclusion on. So it's going to be kind of a different format if you've been tuning in with us on a regular basis. With that being said, we're going to go right into the meat of the conversation, which is the first step is the first topic is the physical location transition. So as I said before, we're just now getting close to acquiring a facility. And once we acquire a facility, our goal is to transition to more of a facility-based approach in terms of events, meetings, anything that we do, we'd like to transition to the shop. In each shop we've looked at, we'll have a different time frame. We're looking at we've so far in the last couple of months, we've gone through a couple hundred facilities. We've nailed it down to a certain list, and then we go visit the ones we think are most promising. Then we contact the city council, the collector's office, the permitting office, and kind of see if it's feasible. And some of them, they have a 60 to 90 to 30-day delay in terms of which we can acquire the lease and announce that we have it. So it's if behind the scenes we may actually be in the process of acquiring a lease, we won't announce it until we have it. So anywhere between now and the next 3 or 4 months, we could be in process of a facility. So that's kind of exciting. Backers at the benefactor level, we're going to be putting. They have access to the development section of the forum. So we're going to, maybe post some stuff on there that we haven't talked about otherwise. Anyways, so the next thing is the launching. So if you haven't seen our update page, our tentative launch is the summer 2015. That's our goal. And what that means is we're going to have probably a summer 2015 soft launch. So we plan on getting the facility, moving in all the equipment, iron out the operation process, and have the soft launch. And then the spring of 2016 have a full celebratory launch. So that's how we plan doing that. To dive into the property process and what we've done and accomplished the last couple months, we've looked at 2 facilities and fully evaluated it. Update number 10 and 11 have those 2 facilities. One's located in a kind of suburb situation. The other one's more of in the city. So we want to do those 2 to kind of show you a contrast of what to expect. What to expect closer to a city and what to expect closer to the suburbs. And how we do that, we've contacted an agent. We're searching independently. We get a list of locations. We review and select a handful we like, and then we visit the site. And then if we like it, we may visit a couple more times. Then we contact the zoning office, business license office, and then the interim do the full evaluation, post it to you guys, and then determine if it's feasible. And if you may or may not like the 2 facilities, these are just examples. I think our team really likes the Berwyn location. Unfortunately, there's a conditional zoning variance that's going to need to be required, filled out and accepted by the city of Berwyn to allow us to get that facility. Same thing with the Lincoln Square property. So we've faced some hurdles in terms of those 2 facilities. So those may or may not come to fruition at this point. That's where we're at in those 2. But we're going to keep it, looking at facilities. We've got a couple more this weekend. We've got a different type of facility. We're actually looking at a industrial complex facility. It's going to be kind of neat. It's kind of the 3rd one in which you get the most square footage, the most bang for your buck, but you're not around much. So we're going to be kind of looking at a couple of those this weekend. But anyways, with that being said, I'm going to open the floor to discussion. And what I want to discuss first is the suburb location, pros and cons. So if you've looked at our update, number 10 is the Berwyn location, and that's kind of a suburb. It's close to downtown Chicago, but it kind of classifies as a suburb. I'm sorry?
Within 10 miles.
Yeah, within 10 miles of downtown Chicago. So that's kind of what we classify as a suburb. We're in Naperville, Naperville as of right now, and that's almost too far out. So we're looking at somewhere between the outer outskirts of Chicagoland to the in between that and downtown. So
ideally a suburb location would be within a 10-mile radius of Chicago, so that it still allows for the greatest amount of people that you're traveling at a shorter distance. So you're not going to see in Naperville or in Arlington Heights, for example, more so a Park Ridge. That's for example, but it could be Park Ridge or Berwyn or Oak Park, like something that is within that 10-mile radius.
Yes, correct.
Sure.
So we're kind of looking at these facilities. But the pros and cons of then the other side, we looked at a city location. So a city location is closer to Chicago with a Chicago address, and what we anticipate as pros and cons for a city location, we've kind of realized looking at these 2 properties as well as a handful of others, that what we thought was true was true. It's closer to more population, costs more or less square footage. So with that being said, I'd like to kind of toss the idea around of a suburb versus city location. I don't know if anyone in our team wants to kind of start off with any pros and cons they think of each one.
I'll go ahead and start then. Yeah. Personally, battling both 10 and 11, I really enjoyed the Berwyn approach. It was still kind of in a city center. It was on the train coming out of Chicago, so if you're in Chicago, you can hop on there, and I don't know how many stops that Katie was, 4 or 5 or 6, I can't remember, but you could reasonably get there fairly cheap, and within a half an hour on a train, or if you drove, of course, not too bad either. And then I know we did do some research outside the city proper area. The square footage costs goes down a little bit, so then we can have more room for the garage area. And so those to me were all big pros. I don't know what you guys thought, but you know, that the idea of a site there, it's kind of in the middle of Chicagoland versus really close to downtown. I really like the Borough location, and others like that too. I know we looked at, like you said, 100 more. I don't know. I think I lost count at 200. I mean, we looked at a million of them. So, but anyways, what do you guys think?
I absolutely agree. So I think Mark gives a very good point. So when we're in the suburbs versus the city, the biggest variance that I see is both cost and then what was the last one today? Oh shoot, sorry.
Space.
Oh, thank you.
Space
yes,
itself.
Cost and space itself. So in these two examples alone, the cost for the city versus the suburb is 40% greater. Which of course can be budgeted for. However, that could ultimately affect the end user, which would be you, because that cost would or could affect the monthly membership or just the hourly rate in and of itself. Another addition is the space. So in these two examples, comparing update 11 and update 10, the suburb location had 20% more space available that we could be using, in terms of, it could be an extra bay, it could be equipment, it could be storage, bike storage for the winter. I mean, there's many different variables that it could be used for. That's a great advantage. With that, of course, being said, I love the idea of having a Chicago location in terms of having Chicago, it's MotoGarage Chai, having that Chicago stamp on it. But of course, Chicagoland is also very fitting.
Yeah, MotoGarage Chicagoland. Absolutely. Lauren, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say being from Chicago, I'm from Des Plaines originally. My parents lived there and I grew up there. So being from there, I went to school in Ohio and came back and moved right to the city. So I have lived now almost, it'll be close to equal amounts in a couple of years of city and suburb. And I think that truly you really do get more bang for your buck in the suburbs. Like, everyone knows that, and as much as we want to fight it, there's nothing really you can't do about it because it's a city versus a suburb. So I think that just like, my morning commute, my daily commute home, it's the suburbs just have so much more space, and I would be suburb. I'm not talking about like suburbs. I'm talking about like, you go Wicker Park and you go on, or you go up north and you go up a little bit, like basically borderline on the city. That's what when I say suburb, that's what I mean. I don't mean, technically like in like Naperville.
Yeah.
So I would definitely agree with the Berlin location because it just outweighs the pros versus the cons. The pros are just so much higher.
Well, you're right, and Lauren, you're saying too. These are savings that we could pass on to the customer, to us, to the user of the bay, right? I mean, if you're in a cheaper area, we don't have to, we don't need as much money to, per hour or whatever. So that'll all factor in the total cost. The idea of this is to make this something to go to and spend hours at, and not nickel and dime to death really quick. To keep costs low and keep this more of a environment, a welcoming environment. And one of those ways is by being smart with where we choose our property, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's get real. If we have, a bay here or a bay there, we just need to be smart about keeping costs down at least initially, and then keep this enticing for everybody, right? From like you said, like when Matt said, the beginner mechanic, all the way up to the more advanced, mechanic in general. So.
And we actually have a question, guys. So a question comes from Eric. Do you guys have another site visit coming up soon? I really like the Berwyn location. Eric, thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, definitely. I like the Berwyn location as well. It's definitely an interesting location in terms of it's got the most amenities. It's got the split of the lounge and the shop area, which I love. Anyways, not to get too far into the amenities. Your question was, do we have another site visit coming up soon? We're looking at 3 different properties coming up, hopefully this weekend. We're kind of waiting back here on our agent to see if he's got availability. But this type of property is going to be different than either one of these two. And this is a potential viable property. It's going to be industrial complex property. So it's going to be, and what we anticipate is it's the most bang for our buck in terms of square footage space. But unfortunately, it would have to be all inclusive, in the sense that the community, the activities we have would be inclusive. There would be nothing to walk to, nothing to, no one's going to see your motorcycle if you park out front, things like that. So yes, so hopefully in a weekend or two we'll be checking out these 4 or 3, and we'll have another update for you guys.
A possible positive to this type of location, though, would be there would be a minimal, or there could be a minimal noise ordinance, whereas both the city and suburbs do have ordinances, and depending on where they are, so far from what we've collected in reviewing things, when it is in a warehouse setting, it is a lower ordinance or potentially no ordinance.
Yeah, for instance, the city of Berwyn had a, with the commercial ordinances, they had a noise ending of 10 p.m. or something, or 9 p.m. in a certain decibel level. So that was something we'd have to comply with and consider. Whereas an industrial complex, intrinsically will have a much higher noise allowance. So it's something to think of too.
What's now just a question, because on the industrial location, what's the shop layout? How's that going to differ compared to the Burn location? Because the Burn, you had your storefront, and you had like a middle area, and then you kind of had like the actual shop. In an industrial location, can you explain what you envision the shop to look like?
Sure. So we've looked at, there's two types of industrial complex locations I've seen so far. One is it's entirely set up for just industrial space. So you would get the massive 16 by 10, massive 16 by 12 garage door. You would get, then the inside would just be fully utilized for warehouse space. So imagine the back of the Berwyn location times 3. That's what industrial complex space I've seen look like, and maybe have a bathroom. Now there are some that have offices and some kind of central conference room up front with the space in the back, and that's, I think, would be the best of this world, and that's what we're hoping that this weekend has. But not to segue into the little topic here, one of the kind of tough things we faced here is some of these properties in the commercial search don't post their inside pictures. So, we go into these blind, unfortunately. So we're having to see a lot and go through a lot in terms of both, via the internet, via what we can see from the broker, then also when we get there. So, but that's what, to answer your question, that's what I think. That's the two I've seen, and the 2 we've looked at, right? I mean, that's kind of the 2 types.
Same concept.
Yeah. So interesting. But with that being said, it could be a really good thing. If we have a space big enough that could be all MotoGarage inclusive, if we could get a much bigger facility that could, like Katie said, store a lot more bikes in the winter, we kind of increase our membership amount, our capacity. And then we can, whereas the Burn location, one of the downfalls of the Burn location, which is my favorite so far, is the square footage of the space in the back was around 1,200 feet. When you factor in 4 or 5 bays, shop equipment, you're down to not much.
Car bay.
A car, yeah, the infamous car bay. That's the.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, so that would be another advantage of the warehouse. You're right, absolutely.
So yeah, so this weekend is next weekend. We'll take a look, and we'll hopefully get you guys a different perspective on a shop possibility, and we'll keep you informed on the 2 we've looked at. They're in flux right now, but anything's possible right now. So yeah, and I agree with all you guys said. I think the pros and cons. I think I'm siding with the suburb location, and I think I like what Lauren said, where it wasn't necessarily a downtown Chicago location. It's on the outskirts of the city proper, right along the Chicago line, maybe just a little east of Berwyn, maybe a little right on that little spot where you can have the accessibility to the outside suburbs, but also the downtown people. It's the concentration of riders is kind of spread, and if we can hit the central focal point, I think we'll have the best shop we can have. And Katie, did you go suburbs or city on this one? What was your
I still have a soft spot for the city.
Yeah.
But I do think that like example, O'Hare is part of the city, right? And so there is some variance to be able to get it out a little bit while still keeping it with the Chicago actual physical location.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Sure.
What's the easiest one to get? I imagine I know the answer. Industrial complex, the easiest one to get in regards to the actual permits and everything.
Well, traditionally speaking, the warehouses are already properly zoned, so that's the biggest advantage because they are, they're not as restrictive because they are traditionally in their own little industrial park, etc.
Yeah, it depends. The city of Berwyn had a C1 through C3 or C4 commercial class, and the one we had, it was the C4s that that's the one we're looking for, and that's kind of industrial complexes. So, who knows? I think the industrial complexes could be easier, but without fully evaluating one, I can't really say either way. But who knows? Who knows? We'll find out. Lauren, what do you want the city, right? Or the suburbs?
No,
Right.
suburb for
Yeah.
sure. Because I feel like I deal with the city so much, and it's just like it would be nice to have like a little escape from the city. And then if you do choose, okay, we worked on our motorcycles for 6 hours, like let's go down to the bar that's in, I don't know, 10 miles away. Like let's go have a drink there. Then we can do that. We have that choice. So it's like if we're in downtown, it's just, I feel like we'll just be limited by a lot more parameters than if we were in the suburbs or in like the suburbs.
Yeah. And with that being said, though, I think the majority of the team is siding with the suburbs. We're not ruling anything out. So we're still looking, in the city, and we'll still evaluate those properties. But the higher costs, less square footage, less amenities is to us has become detrimental. I mean, it's become such a pivotal point of discussion that we can't ignore it. The additional square footage, for instance, the Berwyn location has separate heating, cooling system, like those kind of amenities we can't ignore, and this would be very beneficial to the shop as a whole. So, yeah, that's where we're at. We'll update you guys with a couple more properties as soon as we take a look, and then behind the scenes, any viable properties we're going through the process and see if it's feasible with the city, see if we can even do it there. Looks like we got one more question. Are you going to limit your search to suburbs and industrial complexes from now on then? No, not entirely. We'll definitely put more of a higher concentration out in the near suburbs of Chicago, but we'll definitely keep poking around. If there's properties near north, near west of Chicago, we'll keep them in mind. I found one today that had the similar characteristics of the Lincoln Square property. We haven't reached out and see if we can check it out yet, but it had the higher rent, lower square footage, but arguably it was in a really neat area. And the neat area of downtown could have the influence of younger people with a more outgoing and I don't know kind of word I'm looking for, but a more can-do and
more do-it-yourself attitude.
Yeah, do-it-yourself attitude. Just to yeah, absolutely. So no, we're not limiting, and we'll definitely evaluate some more out in the in the city in the future. But like I said, the square footage and cost, that just may be just a huge driver. The cheaper the facility we can get, the lower the cost, and the higher the square footage, the less the membership cost is going to be, and everyone benefits. So yeah, that's what we have with that one. But that's about it. That's the meeting today. We've got 2 properties, and we're seeing if we can get access to either one. In the interim, we're looking at other ones, and the search won't stop until we sign a lease. And if you have any questions, or if you think we should be in a certain spot versus another one, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, that's where we're at, and we'll keep you guys updated. So, in closing, if anyone else has, I think we got some upcoming events. We posted a few things about some motorcycle classes. I don't know if anyone wants a quick discussion on that.
Yeah, and just to the viewers out there, if they want to check to see what we're at right now, it's update 10, 11, and 10 is the one that I believe the Berwyn location.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of get a feel of what we're looking for, and the ideas Matt has and Katie envisioned for the shop. So when we talk about having a divided space between a garage and like a lounge/shop area, I advise you to 10. Definitely update 10. By the way, best ones we had so far. So check it out, guys.
Absolutely. Cool. And if anybody else has anything else?
I wanted to touch on those classes. So me being a inexperienced motorcycle rider, and I know Katie is in the same boat. Harper College has the.
What about all those years of scooter experience?
Absolutely.
You're being modest right
I
now.
don't know if the scooter experience really will translate into the actual motorcycle.
We'll find out.
Try it out, but I really don't think so. I will be a terror on the road. So the Harper College classes are free, and the summer registration opens up next month. I believe it's like 4/6 or something, right, Katie?
Yeah, that's the Palatine location. And then there's different locations that vary depending.
Yeah,
and then $20 deposit, but then you get that $20 back, so it
back. Yeah, after you pass the course. So
The free
I think
motorcycle
that's
class.
yeah, it's extremely appealing. I mean, it's like, why wouldn't you do it? If it's $20, like, are you kidding? And I definitely never rode my motorcycle before. I don't know how to do the clutch. I don't know any of it. So I think that's something I definitely need to figure out. So, you know, if anyone's interested, you want to get your girlfriend, your wife, your friends, and if you know and you don't want to be the one to teach them, like a lot of people don't want to learn from their friends, then this is an excellent way. There's also the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, and all you have to do is input your zip code, and you can find the nearest classes available to you. On that one, though, you have to pay for most of them, I believe, right? Like, it's more intensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that one's kind of it's like a second step or a third step. But, you know, if Harper College is not accessible for you, that would be another good option.
Harper does sell out fast.
Yeah, definitely.
Their spring class sold out immediately.
We got to be really quick about it, quick on the draw.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's all I have for the event.
Cool. Thank you, Lauren. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We look forward to the next update, the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.